What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Smite Patch Analysis. So today I'm going to be going over the Rolling Thunder patch. So this brings Raijin, the new, I think I said that right, the new Japanese god, so the second god that they're releasing in the Japanese pantheon. So I actually don't think he's going to be too overpowered. I'm not going to go over what all of his abilities do because it's easier for you guys to just go and watch the patch notes live stream that Hi-Rez did. I'll put a link to that in the description, and then you can actually see all of his abilities being used and sort of get a more visual representation of what they do. But I'm just going to mention a few things that they mentioned on the patch notes that aren't in this sort of patch notes document, which I'll also put a link to in the description if you want to sort of read more detail about things. But I'm just going to mention a few of those things that you might not know and, yeah, basically analyze things. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be too overpowered. I think, obviously, they will probably end up having to move the numbers around a little bit, whether they bring them up or down or whatever. Will depend on sort of how he gets played on release, but I really don't think he's going to be too overpowered looking at his abilities. Like, what ends up making gods overpowered in the long run is when their kits just have like ridiculous amounts of everything. So you take a look at Amaterasu. I don't think Amaterasu will ever be weak just because she's got so much in her kit. She's got lots of soft CC, she has a heal, she has a movement speed buff, I think, for her team. She has some hard CC with her ultimate, same with Bellona, does a lot of damage, has a disarm, has a slow. I think her passive on her 1 gives her some blocks an auto attack every 3 hits that she makes. She gets a stack of block, and then you also have her ultimate, which has some hard CC and gives protection to you. Basically, like, those kits just have so much in them, they're never going to be weak no matter how much you nerf the numbers, unless you literally make them do nothing. So, but Raijin's kit, I think, is actually it's quite good, quite balanced, as long as they get the numbers right, which obviously may take a patch or two, but excuse me, I don't think he's going to be too overpowered, and I am really excited to see what they how this ult works out, because his ult is something that's very interesting. So his passive basically just builds up in a similar way to sort of how Polynomicon works. He gains stacks every time he uses a basic attack or an ability, in the same way that Polynomicon will sort of activate once you hit an ability. So your next basic attack will do extra damage. So with Raijin, you build up 4 stacks using basic attacks and abilities, and then your next ability does additional damage. So quite similar to Polynomicon in that respect. His Percussive Storm, which is his 1, he hits his drums and sends forth a load of thunder, which hits stuff and does damage. Now, you're probably a bit confused by the fact that it says this ability grants 1 charge of Static Crescendo, which is his passive, each time it fires, for a total of 3, even though he sends 4 peals of thunder. That's because he has 4 drums laid out in front of him. He hits the one on the left and the right, like the furthest ones, individually, sending sort of thunder, and then he hits the 2 in the middle at once, which sends a peal of thunder each. So that's 4 peals of thunder in total. But that hitting of the 2 drums in the middle only gives you 1 charge for the 2 drums, which is how it sort of sends 4 peals of thunder, but only gives you 3 charges. Hopefully that made sense. Then his 2 Raiju is his little sort of minion ally thing, which in the lore apparently hides in people's belly buttons. So Hi-Rez have tried to bring this into the game by he's sort of like, it's like putting a ward on a player. It's like a tracking device sort of thing. So you put it on an enemy player, and they will show up on the minimap to all of your team. And then the next time Raijin hits that target with the marker on, the marker gets removed, and they take a load of damage. And also, it damages enemies in the sort of radius as well. Excuse me. So, as one of the devs said, that's sort of going to act as like a pseudo CC, because their teammates aren't going to want to be near that player that has the marker on them when Raijin is near to do damage, because obviously they know they're going to get damaged too. It's sort of like when you have Zeus's Chain Lightning. You don't really want to have your team standing next to each other, because that can chain really, really easily, and then can damage a lot more people. So it's sort of going to be like a pseudo CC to get the enemy team to spread out a bit more. Obviously, that's if the enemy team realizes what's going on. It depends, I guess, on your level of play and the level of people you're playing against. So anyway, his 3 Thunder Crash is a bolt of lightning that goes crashing down on the target location, which mezzes enemies and damages them. Raijin ascends into the sky and like comes down onto that location. It sort of looks like a teleport, the animation, if you see it. But the interesting thing about this is that one of the devs said, in terms of the game, in terms of the coding, this is actually a leap, which means that yes, you can be pulled by a Wheelix's ult. So if there's an Wheelix near you who has their ultimate up on the enemy team, be careful about using this, just like you'd be careful using a jump, because if their reactions are good enough, they can pull you towards them with her ultimate, and then you will probably end up dying. So then the ultimate is the thing I'm really excited about. So he, Raijin flies up into the air, and he gets to shoot 4 peals of thunder, but he has 3 choices. Basically, your 1, 2, and 3 abilities get replaced during your ultimate. And your 1, as you can see, does 100% damage. Your 2 and your 3 both do 50% damage, but one of them is a half-second taunt and a half-second fear. So the taunt is going to bring enemies towards you, the fear is going to make them run away. So that's quite a situational sort of thing, whether you want to sort of use it as a defensive thing to try and get enemies away from you, or whether you're initiating sort of trying to bring the enemies closer so that your teammates can use their sort of area of effect abilities on sort of a more grouped together bunch of enemies, or whether you just want to do the damage and want to use that as the 100% damage. It's up to you, but it's a really interesting feature that we've not seen on Ultimates before, so I'm really excited to see how that works. Apparently, in terms of his sort of scaling and stuff, he's going to be a bit like Zhongqi, going to be sort of like a bruiser mage. Now, that is slightly concerning in terms of being OP, because mages are strong enough at the moment without them being a bit tanky, but as I said, that's just a matter of the numbers. Once that gets sorted out, I don't really think he's going to be that overpowered, simply because his kit just looks... It looks good, it looks strong, but it doesn't look ridiculously overpowered like Bologna. Bologna's kit is just... has something for everything, and I just think Bologna's kit is a little bit overdone, but either way, that's that. So we got a load more skins, not really interested in that, god cards, emotes, achievements. Fire Elementals have a new model, yay! The semi-pointless waste of XP things have a new model, yay! Woo! They're not completely pointless, but they do give you less XP than a wave, so don't sacrifice. Say you're a jungler and you're on the mid lane. Share that wave with the mid laner rather than rotating to rather than rotating to the fire elementals. Like, get the wave, and then if you want to take the fire elementals, go and do that afterwards if there's no other camps or no lanes to gank. If there's nothing to do, then go do the fire elementals, but don't sacrifice sharing a wave for the fire elementals, because it's not worth it. You will get more from splitting the wave with the mid laner or solo laner or wherever you are. Add some extra foliage around the map, so for all you gardeners out there, fantastic. More bushes and trees and stuff. Great. Fits the tutorial. Great, I guess. Joust, they've added a marker to the map for the Bull Demon King, and added a load of stuff for him. They've also reduced the buff slightly, which is really, really good. They've removed the power increase and also made it so that you can't lifesteal as much off him, so you can't use him as sort of a form of sustain. Which is good, because I think he was a very overpowered sort of thing on the Joust map. The buff that he gave was ridiculously strong for how easy it was to kill him. So for all you Joust players out there, great. And then an introduction to the Clash game mode video. I guess that's great for people that haven't played it yet. Not really anything else interesting happening with relics. Item changes. That's just a bug fix. That sounds quite OP if that wasn't actually removed upon taking damage. That basically defeats the point of the item and makes it quite strong, but that's fixed now, that's great. Excuse me. Removed cooldown reduction from Adventurous Blade, replaced it with crowd control reduction at 7%. So I think this is just Hi-Rez's sort of, they're trying to make items a lot more specific rather than items that do a bit of everything, so I guess this is just another phase of that. There's not really many other item changes. The Spear of the Magus, which it's had the 10% magical protection reduction per stack removed. and now stacks up to 3 times for a grand total of 30 magical protection. So it's straight reduction of 30, not just percentage reduction, so it's a lot more effective, as you can see in the caption there, against players with lower magical protection rather than both high and low magical protection. So that's actually quite good, because they made mages like a lot stronger, and they reduced the effectiveness of defensive items by sort of reducing the protections that they gave. Like, mages have just been dominating season 3 so far, so reducing the penetration on Spear of the Magus, which has been a really strong penetration item up until now. I mean, it's still going to be strong, still going to be worth getting, but as I said, Hyros are trying to make all the items a lot more specific and situational, which is great, and I think it's really good that they're trying to do that, and I think it's only going to sort of further the esports scene as we move into Season 3. But it's just sort of helping mages not be quite so overpowered and bring them sort of back into line with the rest of everything, because they were starting to get slightly out of hand, especially with the protection nerfs. But other than that, this is all just sort of bug fixes and all that sort of stuff, nothing really too game changing going on other than that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like it if you did, let me know your opinions on the patches and anything that you might want to know, any question you have or whatever. And yeah, so like the video, subscribe to see more, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.